Chris here, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to this week's reading vlog. So we're in the second week of June, and I'm still working my way slowly through my gigantic TBR. My focuses for this week, I think, are going to be finishing the Crimson campaign because I've started this, and my audiobook would be due back, I think, before the end of the week, so definitely want to finish this. The Rise and the Reign of the Mammals, because this is another book I've started. Death in the Pond, because I'm partially through that, and The Bone Shard Daughter, because this is due back on the 13th, and it's the 8th. So these are my priorities for this week. I don't know what else I'm going to read. Like I said, I have a gigantic TBR. I'm trying to think if I have any audiobooks that, like, I need to get to. If I finish the Crimson campaign, I might move on to The Empire of Gold, I think it's called, which is the third book in the Daevabad trilogy, because I know I don't have that audiobook for that much longer, so that would probably be my next priority audiobook-wise. I mean, I guess it depends also whether I have audiobooks that come in or not, so we shall see. Other than that, I don't really have any plans. I'm hoping to catch up on some editing and posting because I kind of put that off because I was just really in a reading mood last week, so we're gonna see. I should be able to spend some time reading because it's very smoky outside. Not as bad as like New York City, but it ain't great here, and I'm very sensitive to smoke. So I won't really be going outside much because even a little bit of smoke starts to make me cough. Like, I can't even handle like smoke from cooking, or like if I were to blow out a candle and be too close to the candle and inhale, that would make me just try to hack my lungs out. And it's not like I can go outside and get some fresh air because there is no fresh air. So I will be inside, which gives me more time to like edit and stuff. So we'll see how it goes, but that's kind of my priorities this week. I have a lot of books I want to get to, but whether I will actually be able to accomplish that is a complete other story. I keep looking at my TBR and going, I want to read everything all at once. And of course, you can't read everything all at once. You can only really read one book at a time. Now, granted, I'm in the middle of more than one book, but like physically, you can only read one book at a time. Like if I'm reading this from say 2 to 3 p.m. I can't also be reading this from 2 to 3 p.m. I'm not good enough to keep track of what's going on in two books simultaneously. So it is unfortunate because think about how much more reading you could do if you could physically read two books at the same time. Every book lover's dream, right? But anyways, since that's not possible, I'm going to focus on those that I've started, and we'll see how it goes. I may add some lighter stuff in there because I have, like I said, a nonfiction and then 2 kind of adult fantasies. So I might want to slip something lighter in there, especially considering Dead in the Pond is an ebook. So if I'm not feeling up to it or I need to charge my phone, I will probably slip something else in there. I just don't know what. Maybe one of my romances, because they'd be a lot lighter and easier to read, but we shall see. And I'm going to go read, and I will check back in with you in a couple of days and let you know how I'm doing. So I did a really crappy job checking in this week, as it's now the 15th, and I haven't checked in once. It has been a very long week, and we have a CLO, because of course we do. I have been very stressed. money has been really, really tight, and I'm still waiting to hear if I'm going to get my SSI. And I have no idea how much longer that's going to take because they tell you nothing. Literally, I filed my appeal on August 11th, and it basically says the same thing it said since August. So, I could know tomorrow. I might not know till August. Who knows? In the meantime, we have to figure out a way to pay our bills and feed ourselves and all that good stuff, and our food stamps have run out. We had gotten approved for food stamps after we finally applied. And we were getting like the bonus ones for COVID, and then that went away in February, and then my parents' Social Security, because they're both retired, increased just enough to make it so that we don't get any food stamps anymore. So I'm very, very, very stressed. And I have been trying to figure that out. I have spent the last couple days at my storage unit trying to parse through all of just the insanity there. We got that storage unit in like 2012 when my nephew moved in, and he had to take over our spare bedroom and bring his stuff with him. So we got a storage unit, and then like a couple weeks after he moved in, his girlfriend moved in, so we had all of this extra stuff, and we got the storage unit, and it became a easy dumping ground. But storage units aren't cheap. And so I'm trying to go through all of the stuff that's been sitting at the storage unit and figure that out, because I need to do something with it. And that means leaving the house. And granted, I don't see anybody, but it still means leaving the house, and it is exhausting. So I've been spending a lot of my spoons at the storage unit and not on posting. I also hit 5 stores today. Granted, I don't get out of the car. I did 3 pickup, like order to go things. And my mom ran in 2 other stores because she doesn't mind running in stores. I do. Because my mom's Social Security went in today, and we were finally able to grab some stuff. And I've been trying to go, okay, well, what's on sale that we're going to need? And if I can get it on sale, you know, it makes sense to do it now and stock up, because we're definitely going to be using it between now and the time you get paid again. Or like stocking up on water, because my mom is not capable of picking up the 24 packs of water. So by doing it that way, she didn't have to pick it up because they just stuck it in the car. But our local grocery store has a fee, so you have to spend so much to remove the fee, and it doesn't make sense to pay for the fee if that's going to essentially negate all of the like savings we get. So it's just been a lot of complicated math and running numbers and trying to crunch numbers and trying to make things work. On top of that, I've also been sitting on Survey Junkie doing survey after survey after survey after survey to again try to lessen the gap between what we need to put out based on my best guess and what we actually have coming in. So I have no idea there. I really need to film an unhaul so that I can put more books on Pango, so that I can maybe make some money there. But like, I would have to film it and edit it and caption it, and there's only so many hours in the day. But with all of that being said, what I was doing when I wasn't on here filming, and I wasn't doing surveys, and I wasn't working on what little I have managed to add to the channel when it comes to captioning, because I think that's the thing that's holding me back right now, because it's just so tricky and I'm exhausted. So watching myself again is exhausting. Was reading. I've read quite a bit. So I'm going to quickly dive in and tell you everything I've read this week. So first up, I'm going to mention Dead in the Pond, because I finished this. This is the second book in the Grassmere Cottage series, and it follows Bishan, who is autistic, and his boyfriend, Valor, who discover a body in the garden in the first book. And the second book is literally a direct continuation. It's not your typical cozy mystery series where they have a different mystery in each book. This is a trilogy where the mystery kind of spans all 3 books. I gave this one 4 stars. I'm still really enjoying the mystery. I have no idea what's going on. One of my main suspects was proven to not be guilty in this one, so I'm back to square one of going, I have no idea. So we shall see how it wraps up in book 3 at some point. And I warn you, if you read the series and you get into it, you're going to want to keep going on, because book 1 ended on a cliffhanger and so did book 2, and I can't read book 3 yet. I don't have time. So that being said, I wanted to mention it because I put it at the top of my list of do not forget to mention that you've read this, because I don't have the physical book, so I can't like look around and see, oh yeah, I forgot to mention this. So Dead in the Pond, finished that. Then in no particular order, I read Icebreaker, and this is a book about 2 hockey players. So our POV is Mickey, and he comes from a long line of hockey players, and he is hoping to be the first round draft pick. However, standing in his way is his rival Jason, and they end up on the same team. He also may or may not be attracted to Jason, which creates an interesting dynamic between the two now that they're teammates and they're fighting for this top spot. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed the story. I know absolutely nothing about hockey, so some of the bits and bobs about hockey kind of went over my head, and I think maybe if I had understood that better, it might have gotten 5 stars. But I really liked Mickey as a character. I liked seeing his relationship with Jason developed. I liked his relationship with his family and how complex that was. I will also note that at the very beginning of the book, there is a content warning page, and it says depictions of depression, anxiety, and dissociation, mild suicidal ideation, underage alcohol abuse, brief marijuana use, and sports violence. I love when books put content warnings right at the beginning so you can go in prepared. Obviously, this is not just a regular rivalry story, because there's a lot of outside factors based on the content warnings. They do come into play, so it's got some definite heavy emotions to it, which I really enjoyed. It added to my enjoyment of this book. I would highly recommend this if it's something that sounds interesting, because I really did enjoy my ride with it. And once I picked it up, I didn't want to put it down, and I had to force myself to go to bed. So that is a rousing endorsement for me. Then we'll go with, I finished Magical Boy Volume 1, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. So this is a graphic novel that follows Max, who is trans and finds out that he is a magical girl because he's descended from this like goddess and has to fulfill his destiny as this like magical protector, and it is all about being a goddess, being a girl, and all of that. And Max isn't a girl, so he is definitely struggling with this new bombshell that his mother dropped on him, and we see him kind of go through that. And I loved this. I thought the story was so incredibly interesting, seeing him grapple with his gender and this kind of lineage that goes against everything that he knows he is, and trying to put these two pieces of himself together and make them work. He's got a great group of friends that kind of come together throughout this book to help him through this difficult time and transition and craziness in his life. And I just really enjoyed the story. And it says at the end, not that I'm going to show you the end, but it says, don't miss the thrilling conclusion in Magical Boy Volume 2. So it's a duology, I would assume, from that statement. And I've already requested book 2 from the library, which shows you how much I enjoyed this one. So I read this today, and I really, really needed a quick read. That's exactly what this was. This was another one where once I picked it up, I didn't want to put it down. So really enjoyed this one as well. Also, I should mention that I read Magical Boy for Queer Friendship for the Queer Lit Readathon, and then I read Icebreaker for Host Rack for the Queer Lit Readathon. Speaking of the Queer Lit Readathon, I read The Queer Principles of Kit Webb for Historical, and I gave this book 4.25 stars. This is a historical fiction romance, and we're following Kit, who owns a coffee house but used to commit heists, and Percy, who is a duke's son, comes to him and says, I know who you are, I need your help, I have somebody I need to rob. And Kit refuses because he's out of the game, but agrees to teach Percy how to do it himself. So we kind of get to see their relationship grow and develop from there as Kit teaches Percy what he needs to know so that he can commit this robbery he needs done. And the banter between the two of them is absolutely wonderful. I loved it. This is just such an amazing story. I like the historical aspect that makes it a little bit more, I'm going to say, intriguing, because men aren't supposed to be together. they're from different stations. It adds to the story. I really enjoyed their relationship because that is the core of this book, is seeing their relationship grow and develop. And I really like how it did, and I really like how it ended. There is a second book in the series, and I absolutely 100% want to read it because I think it will be fun as well. So another series that I hope to continue at some point. In non-queer lit readathon reads, I finished the Crimson Campaign, which is the second book in the Powder Mage trilogy, and I gave this book 4 stars. A lot of interesting things happened in this one, and I'm really enjoying the ride. It's not like a new favorite. It's not one I could necessarily see myself rereading, but I am enjoying being with these characters and seeing the journey that they've gone on and kind of trying to figure out how things are going to tie up in book 3 because it's a trilogy, and hopefully I will be able to get to that either in July or August. That's the plan as of the moment. Then I read my nonfiction, which is The Rise and Reign of Mammals, and I gave this book 4 stars. I didn't enjoy this one as much as the dinosaurs. My 2 facts that I'm going to pull out of this one, because in the book about dinosaurs, I took away from it that birds are descendants of dinosaurs. So every time you see a bird, you're seeing a dinosaur. In this one, I'm going to tell you that there are remains of woolly mammoths that were preserved in such a way when they died because of the circumstances they found themselves in, that we know exactly what they look like because they were essentially kind of like mummified. So they were found completely intact with like organs and hair, and they hadn't decomposed. So we know exactly what woolly mammoths looked like because we have evidence of it. And my second fact would be whales used to walk on land. They had legs. You will see a picture in here, if you read this book, of the evolution of whales. And you will see skeletons of further back in their evolutionary pattern whales with legs. It's crazy and fascinating and so incredibly interesting. But this essentially tells the story of how mammals came to be and where they are now and where they might be going. And I enjoyed it. I like how the author tells the story and kind of compiles his information and relates it to the reader, because it is something that could be incredibly boring, but I think he does a really good job of kind of bringing it to life and making these animals that you can't possibly imagine if you've never heard of them kind of come to life. He does a really good job of bringing the story to life, and I just really enjoyed this read, and I hope at some point he writes something else, though I don't know what, but if he does, I'll read it. Then the first book I finished this week was Sensory, Life on the Spectrum, an Autistic Comics Anthology. And I gave this book 4.25 stars. Some of the comics I enjoyed more than others, but there's like a bunch. Let me see. I think there's a table of contents, so I can actually tell you how many different comics there are. Okay, maybe not. They're not numbered. But as you can see, look at all of the different comics. So all of these people are autistic and wrote a comic about being autistic and how that affects them, or something they wanted to share about their journey or autism in general. And I really enjoyed seeing this collection, seeing it play out, and seeing the differences and how each of them experiences being autistic. I liked the differing art styles. I will say that, again, some worked better for me than others, but that's to be expected. And that's why it doesn't get the full 5 stars, is because there, like I said, were some I liked more than others, and there were some art styles I liked more than others, so it's really hard to give it 5 stars because not every comic got 5 stars. All that being said, I really enjoyed this and would recommend it if you want to see a bunch of different views of being autistic from actual people who are autistic in comic form, because it was fascinating. Then for Sapphic, for the Queer Lit Readathon, I read Count Your Lucky Stars by Alexandria Bellafleur, and this is the 3rd book in this series. I believe the last one based on the way this one ended, so I think it was a trilogy. And I gave this book 3.75 stars, so this was probably my least favorite book I read this week. And the reason I say that is because, for me, I don't like steamy romances, spicy romances, and this one was not bland enough for me, because I use a bland to spicy scale. Because I've seen a lot of people say that, like, well, this is a clean romance, implying that spicy romances are dirty, but not in a, like, positive sort of way. It can kind of have some negative connotations when you say clean. So I try to use bland because people have also called them spicy. So to me, it's bland and spicy, and I prefer my sex scenes to be off page. And there were way too many that were on page and descriptive, and I don't enjoy that in my books. So this had a few too many of those for me. If that's not something you like, keep that in mind reading this. If it is something you like, then it won't bother you at all. And there are several in here, and I can't tell you how well they were written because I really tried to tune them out because I was listening to the audiobook, which is a whole nother level of awkward. You should have seen me one night as I was listening to this going, please, Mom, don't come down the hallway now. Please, 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 please. I will say, my favorite thing I read this week also came from this book. There is a scene in this book that literally had me laughing so hard my stomach hurt and I had tears rolling down my cheeks. So that would be a rousing endorsement of this book. Like, my 3.75 stars is definitely skewed because of the amount of spice in it. It would probably be higher if it didn't have that, but it's really hard to judge something based on what it doesn't have. Like, I don't know how the book would have been written if those scenes hadn't been in it, so how can I possibly rate it removing those scenes, if that makes sense? The parts that didn't have that stuff I really, really enjoyed, but I don't know if the tone of the book would have changed without those scenes and how the author would have gone about writing it. So I don't know if any of that makes sense, but that's my thoughts on it. This follows Margot, and she's kind of looking for a roommate, and one of her friends is getting married. Their venue goes bust at the last minute, and they are scrambling to find a new one, and in enters Olivia Grant, who just so happens to be a childhood friend of Margot's who she was madly in love with. Things didn't go the way they should, and they had a falling out, and they haven't spoken in years. And Margot has to deal with Olivia being back in her life. And obviously, spice ensues from there. I enjoyed the dynamic between Olivia and Margot and how that kind of played out. I thought it was really interesting having Olivia come in the way that she did. I did not like that there was a slight bit of miscommunication trope, but I also thought it was addressed. So I'm really not the person to go to for romance recommendations because it's not usually my thing, but I enjoyed the way the non-spicy parts of this were written. Like I said, it had one of my favorite things I've read this week because it was so hilarious. So I'd recommend it if you like romances, because I thought, at least in my estimation, it was really well done. I just could have used less spice. So I read a few picture books this week, and first up is 'Twas the Night Before Pride. And I gave this book 5 stars, and in this book you have an older sibling telling their younger sibling about pride. So that's basically the whole story, is this family sits down and talks about pride and the history of pride and what pride means to them. I thought it was really, really cute. I think it is very informative at a level that a young child can understand. I think it's got a lot of diversity because you can see that not only do we have queer rep here, but we have what looks to be an interracial relationship, which is another aspect I really liked. And you see it all throughout the book. Like, there are scenes that take place at Pride, and they're just this beautiful rainbow of people. And you can also see that when it comes to ways they express themselves, when it comes to, say, gender identity or their sexual orientation or whatever, that you see representation of that in various ways in the Pride pictures, whether it be via flags or pins or the clothing they're wearing, etc. And I just thought it was so well done in such an interesting way to kind of introduce the concept of pride to kids. So highly recommend this one. And then the other picture book I read is Granddad's Camper. And in this one, we see a little girl go stay with her granddad, and he's amazing, and he's constantly telling her stories of the travels he went on with her gramps. And a lot of these travels involved a camper. So she is telling the story of her granddad's camper. I gave this book 4.25 stars. It was another one that I really enjoyed. I liked how simply and normally her having a granddad and a gramps who were in a relationship is just normal. Like, there is no explanation needed. It is just a thing that is for her. And I think we need more of that with kids. I'm sure this is a book that would get challenged, and that makes me so angry because it's just a sweet book about a little girl learning more about her granddad and her gramps' adventures. And that would somehow, be awful and horrible for kids to read about. But I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. And I have requested Granddad's Pride, which is the one I found out about, which is the kind of companion novel to this, from my library. So hopefully I will be reading that soon as well. Now, I do have some other books I've started. I started The Dying of the Light, and I'm on page 404, so I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through this. And this is the 9th book in this series. Holy crap! This book has kind of taken everything and turned it on its head. I have no idea what's going on. There is one POV, because we have a couple POVs in this one where I'm like, what is this? Because this doesn't make sense. This doesn't fit with the rest of the story. And I can't quite pinpoint how it's going to mesh into the story that's being told, but it must. So I keep trying to figure it out, and I'm very, very curious what is going on with that. I'm assuming we're going to find out by the end of the book. And yeah, Skullduggery and Val are up to their eyeballs in it, and like I said, my gosh, just, I wish I could say more, but anything else I say is spoilers. And yeah, just know that by this point in this book, I'm at a loss for words to describe how this book has taken so many twists and turns in the story narrative in ways that I was completely not expecting, and blown it up and make me have no idea how this book is going to end, let alone continue on with the series. So very, very much enjoying this. I started Payback's a Witch, which is my M-Spec prompt choice for the Queer Lit Readathon. And I'm like 40 pages into it, so not much. And we're following Emmy, who is a witch and has come back to her hometown for the first time in ages, as she has to fulfill a duty that comes with being a witch in her family. And she bumps into Talia, who has come off of this breakup with this really well-known guy named Gareth, who is part of one of the families in town who has magic and is kind of the higher end, the more important end, so he kind of gets away with things. And that's all I've got for you so far. They've literally just kind of reconnected, because Talia was a couple years ahead of Emmy in school, and I'm enjoying it so far. It's an interesting start, and we shall see where it goes. The only other update I have is that I've started this book. It's The Shadow Rising, which is book 4 of the Wheel of Time series. I'm on chapter 2, which is 50 pages into the book, which in any other book would be great progress, but this is like almost 1,000 pages, so I've got a ways to go. But I wanted to let you know I started it. And yeah, that's my week. I have read an insane amount of books. So like I said, when I wasn't fretting about money and trying to make sense of everything and feel less like a complete abject failure because I can't work. I can't. And it's frustrating because I want to contribute and I can't. So I'm trying to figure out ways I can contribute that are not getting a job by, like I said, working on the storage unit and trying to sort through that, because a lot of that stuff is mine. I mean, not everything, but some of it. Our big start, which is completely overwhelming because of everything that's in there. Luckily, my mom's old coworker, because my mom was a CNA at a nursing home and used to decorate the kind of day room for every holiday. So we have bins of holiday decorations. My mom's old coworker still works there and said, anything you don't want, I'll take. I'll start decorating the day room again. So I've been going through okay, this is the stuff I want to keep because our stuff was mixed in. And this is the stuff I don't want, you can have it. So that gave me a place to start. And I'm hoping that once I finish getting all of that sorted and out of the storage unit, I will feel like I have more room to kind of maneuver and I can start sorting through things. I have clothes and I have no idea what to do with them. I legitimately probably have a good 40 to 50 fan art One Direction shirts that I got from when the fandom was doing charity drives for the boys' birthday. And I have no idea what to do with them. I don't think I ever really wore any of them. They're just sitting in bags. Well, one big, giant garbage bag at my storage unit. I have no idea what to do with them. The only place I have for closed donations around here is Salvation Army. And I really, really don't want to give money to the Salvation Army because of how they treat the LGBTQ plus community. So I have no idea what I'm going to do. But I'm hoping, like I said, it'll get easier to manage things as I move stuff out, and I won't feel quite so overwhelmed. So we'll see how it goes. And yeah, that's just one of the ways. The other, like I said, the other way is surveys. Sometimes I can listen to an audiobook while I'm doing surveys, but it gets really annoying to have to pause an audiobook, so I've been listening to music. You want a music recommendation? I think Niall Horan's new album is ace. Really enjoying it. And then, like I said today, going to the stores to help my mom work the apps to pick up the orders, which is exhausting because leaving the house is exhausting and makes me feel dirty, and being around people that I don't know, strangers who are a mask, make me feel dirty and exhausting. So my only saving grace today was the fact that I had Dynamite and it was an order out day, because we haven't quite given that up, and I think I would go insane if I had to give that up, because it is the one night of the week where I allow myself to overeat, and I am an overeater. That's what I do when I'm really stressed. It brings me great joy, and I normally have everything pretty portioned so that I can't do that, because I found that's the best way to deal with my anxiety when it comes to the inability to stop eating. And I needed that. I had that, and I had wrestling tonight, so I kind of felt recharged, and I was like, perfect, I'm going to film tonight. I swear, I'm going to film tonight. So I have filmed. This clip is about to be 32 minutes long, so I'm going to go. So you're going to still get a decent-sized vlog from me, even though I only checked in once, because, well, when I needed a break from all of that, I escaped into books. And, well, now I've updated you on everything I read. So pretty successful reading week. I feel like I've made some progress in the financial turmoil I found myself in. I just haven't been great at the booktube side, and I'm really sorry about that for everybody who tunes in, but we'll see how long it takes me to get this out. You'll know when you see this, because you'll know when this was. It is officially June 15th. It's, let's see, 3:02 in the morning here, so 3 o'clock in the morning on the 15th. And you'll know when you see this how long it's been since I filmed it, so yeah, hopefully it won't be too long. I'm hoping to get it to you before the end of June. We'll see. But I'm going to go now because I have stuff I want to read before I go to sleep, because I need to wind down so that I can go to sleep. I don't know what I'm going to read, but something. We'll see. And I will check back in with you next week and let you know how I'm doing. Well, not in this video. Oh my God, I'm so bad. I'm screwing this up. Do you see how off I am? Anyways, that's it for this week's vlog. All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me camper emojis or like van emojis. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!